Hello, children of Florida and other children out there who may or may not be listening. This is your father speaking, the top T. How about that snazzy little intro? Like that? Yeah, thought you did. Well, I'm going to talk today about money and investing. It's a topic that later day teens, not to be confused with Latter day Saints, but later day teens are interested in because older teens are oftentimes thinking about when can I get out of this house and when can I make my own life decisions, etc., etc. So I'm going to teach you some things about money, about investing. But first, we require something warm and caffeinated to drink on this nearing fall day. Coffee, my favorite. So, I think we're going to begin with defining a couple of terms. I'm going to talk about business and investing. One of the things that you need to know is investing is irrelevant for you. To qualify for investing, you have to have money, extra money lying around. And so investing is for people that have money to invest. Business. Business is what you do that brings money in the door. So, business is your career if you went to college or you didn't go to college and you work for a company and you get a salary or you get an hourly wage. That's your business, right? It's the thing you do, it's your talents, it's your skills, it's your abilities, it's the thing you do that brings money in the door. That's business. Investing is your money bringing money in the door. It's your money being put to work, whereas business is you being put to work and your skills, talents, and abilities. It's a truism to say that teenagers spend money on stupid shit, which is normal and fine because that's what teenagers are supposed to do. Typically, a teenager gets some money and looks at it and thinks to themselves, what stupid shit could I buy with this? And usually it's a teenage level toy, right? It's a game. It's maybe a hobby. It's just things that a teenager might buy. Nothing wrong with this, by the way. Here's where the problem is. When a teenager becomes an adult, that habit of, I have money, what could I buy with this is the first question. And it's the wrong question. I have money, what could I buy with this? So we're going to talk about how to think about money. And we're also going to talk about how to think about earning money and getting money in the door and the right way to think about it. So when we think about business, I want to introduce to you a term that's relevant because young people often like to get out into the workforce and bitch that they're not making very much money. They also like to bitch that the money they're making isn't enough to buy a house like mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and a fancy car like mom. How come I can't have that? And the reason you can't have that working at Starbucks or whatever is you haven't been introduced to the term that I will call high value skills. You need to have or develop high value skills. What does this mean? How difficult is it, and how many people in the world can pour coffee into this cup? I would argue damn near anybody, even a leftist liberal. Your Aunt Ilea could pour coffee into this cup. Any idiot. I could almost get a dog to do it. I could probably get a dog to do it better than Aunt Ilea. But anybody can pour coffee into this cup. So the skill of pouring coffee into this cup isn't worth very much because I can get a child to do it. How difficult is it to build a rocket and put people in that rocket and send them to space? I would say that people who work for Elon Musk have high value skills. It's worth a lot of money to not have those people die on exit or reentry. How difficult is it to lead people versus being the person that's just told what to do? If you're a person that's the recipient of other people's commands, you are low value. If you're the person who's giving out the commands or giving out the leadership or directing talent, and talent's willing to follow you, leadership, that's a high value skill. If you buy snakes and you start breeding for the first time and half of them die, you have a certain level of skill and you're not worth as much as somebody who's been doing it for, say, 2, 3, 4 years, and 95% of the hatchlings live because you know what you're doing. You have some nuance about you. So it's important to consider high value skills. And if you run a business, some of those skills are marketing, sales, accounting, tax considerations, administrative realities, management realities, planning, leading, organizing, controlling, which are the 4 functions of management, and then leadership, which is a separate idea from management. How to have a vision, how to articulate that vision. All of these things are a bit more complicated than mowing the grass. Mowing the grass is a skill. Running a landscaping company is a high value skill. You see the difference. So the thing you want to do is look at what you're capable of and determine, is this something anybody can do, a few people can do, or not too many people can do? And is it a valuable skill, meaning people already pay money for this? If you can see that people already pay money for this in terms of a salary or in terms of, purchasing a product or service from you, then you have a high value skill. It's really the only thing you need to worry about. Let's talk a little bit about investment. Investment presumes you have money. And before we talk about investment, actually, we have to talk about something called savings. Remember when I said that children who spend money on stupid shit grow up and become adults who get money, and the first question that comes into their mind is, what could I buy with this, right? And they have things they have to buy. They have to buy rent or a mortgage. They have to buy a car payment if they are making payments to a car payment company. They have to buy food. They have to keep things warm or cold if you live in Florida. And so those are the have-tos. And after they spend the money on all the have-tos, then they get the get-tos. And they say things like, you know what, I deserve a nice meal out. So they spend, I don't know, $100 on a nice meal out. You know what, it would be nice to have Netflix and Hulu because Netflix is getting a little bit boring. So that's something I can buy. And what happens is you have a whole nation of people that, and here's the question you want to ask yourself. If I were to stop having income, my job went away, my business went away. If your income went to zero all of a sudden, how long can you last before you have an oh shit moment? Well, most of America is a month or 2 or maybe 3. So what happens is you run out of money, and if you have no savings, nothing to fall back on, and by the way, savings is first, investment is later. So if you have no savings, then you are out on the street. You're done. You're kaput. You're out of commission. So the important thing that you need to do is have a high value skill so that at the end of a month, you live a conservative lifestyle so that there's money left over beyond living, beyond rent, which means you may not have the fancy car. You may buy a cheap car. Now, the fancy car is for people with money. People without money like to buy the fancy car to pretend like they're people with money, but they're not people with money. So you want to have money left over and you want to build up some kind of savings. I would recommend 3 months bare minimum. That's a fire sale. Here's a story. When I was little, I was a saver. I had a little blue pouch with a zipper on the top of it. It was plastic. It was blue. It had Native American stuff on the front of it. And every time a birthday came along or Christmas came along or a tooth fairy came along and I got money, I put it in that pouch. Because I just liked having money. And so I remember my mother, I think it was my mother, saw like I had like $300 or $400 in there, which was quite the princely sum when I was young. But my mother saw the money and said, you need to buy something with that. See, I'm being trained from an early age to just spend money on shit. And the reasoning was, grandma gave you that money, or grandpa gave you, or Aunt Connie, or somebody gave you that money for your birthday, and we have to tell them what you bought with it. We have to take a picture of you in a sweater or you with your new toy so that you can show them that you bought something nice for yourself, because that's what they would want for you to have something with this money. And I can just say that this is an area of life where my mother was wrong, but I'm teaching you differently. If you get money, rat hole that shit away, because by the time you get out of the house, you're going to want to have first month's deposit, last month's deposit, and hopefully a little bit of savings so that you have the freedom to make mistakes. Let's summarize a little bit, shall we? Business is what you do to bring money in the door. The most important thing in business is that you have a high value skill. High value skills are things like sales, copywriting, engineering, accounting, lawyering, doctoring, leadership, management, things that people either go to school for or that are difficult. If it's difficult, typically it's a little bit more high value. Let me give you a little caveat. Just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's high value. Let's look at computer programming. 20 years ago, computer programming was a high value skill, but today you can get any idiot in India to make you a program using HTML, using Python, using all kinds of programming languages for like $15-20 an hour. So programming, if a lot of people are doing it, it's worth less. So food for thought. But you get money in the door, high value skills. When you live beneath your means and the money left over, you're not ready to invest yet. You just want to build up 3 months savings. So your children, get into the habit. You got money. You don't need something. You don't need a toy. You don't need a game. You don't need something. Put it away. Leave it alone. Put it away. Get used to this. Or spend most of it, but put something away, for crying out loud. And so this is Money and Investing Lesson 1 from your dad. Instead of listening to Daddy's music, why don't I leave you with the wonderful intro music that I came up with. And I don't have like and subscribe, so 15 subscribers, you know the drill. So that's all I have for now. You and I will talk again soon.